Yes, is that what I say at the start? What's it? Welcome to the Boise boat. What's this thing called again? Welcome along with the Boise bus. It's the T.N.F. a wee bit earlier tonight. Get out of the road. Get out of the road so you can all get on with your evenings. But I'm joined tonight by the judge, as always, on a Thursday, and by Connor Carr. We've been a wee bit quiet recently. Loads of stuff going on in the world. We didn't want the bus infiltrating all that debate and all that debate infiltrating the bus. We want to keep it all things Celtic. And with the international break, we just thought it might make sense to take a wee back seat. But tonight, it's all about the passenger seat, because tonight is the night we give over the keys to yous, and yous get to dictate what we talk about, all Celtic related, please and thank you. If we drift into a wee bit of TikTok Todd versus Chris Sutton, that might happen as well, but there's nothing wrong with that. Judge, I'll come to you first, mate. Dun, 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 dun. How are you, mate?
I'm doing very well, thanks, mate. I've missed the pod, but it's good to get back. You know, after a wee break, recharges the batteries, lets
Yes.
misses a wee bit. Sometimes it's good to miss somebody because it makes the heart go fonder. So hopefully, pick up a few more followers after the night show.
The heart's growing fonder. Misery loves company. He's got all the lines, the big man. Connor Carr joins us as well. Do you know what you've got yourself into? The Boys and Judge on a Thursday. Can you handle it, Connor Carr?
I mean, look, to be fair, I'm doing more shows than you recently, mate. I'm taking out your show. You're in, brother. I don't know what you're on about. But it's been good. I've missed everybody. It's good to be back. I've missed all the passengers. I've missed you two boys. I've missed, Phil and Jory and Jono and everybody else. So it's good. And Uncle Terry. So it's good. It'll be good to get back into the swing of things, and hopefully, it'll be like we were never gone.
It will indeed. It'll be like we were never away. We did so many shows. They're trying to keep up, but it all gets pretty tricky when you get a job that's maybe a wee bit more important than the one I had before. Do you know what I mean? So it's like trying to juggle it now. I'm like, I had hundreds of free time before. I think I've literally just, like, Mark, parked my career to one side just for the bus for the last couple of years. And I think, like, maybe I'm growing up a tiny wee bit. But anyway, we'll crack on, because by the end of this year, rest assured, in the space of just 24 months, this bus will have hit 1 million views. We can only do that, though, with all your help, and that means all that good stuff. If you want to give us a wee like, do it now. Hit the like button, it's just below. If you want to give us a wee share, of course, please do. If you want to slag the hair, it's still as shite as ever, then feel free to do that. If you want to hit that subscribe button and become a Boise Bus subscriber, absolutely do it. It's completely free of charge. Hit the wee bell and you'll get notified with every time the bus pulls up outside your door. And of course, if you want to become a Boise Bus member, I've not done this in ages, Jim Brown, like Jim C, like Gary Brown, like Jim Dolan, all the Jims, like Pam, like Phil McGinley, and so many others. Yes, it is $1.99 a month. It helps keep the bus wheels on the road, and it is entirely optional. Right, let's get stuck in it. Punch McNugget just comes straight in. I'm happy to talk about this. Let's just get straight into it. He says, all right, boys, Celtic should tell Hearts to stick their tickets. What do you make of that, Judge? You're not a fan of all this. No fans at the ground. You were advocating even whatever many it is, 700 Celtic fans is better than no Celtic fans at Ibrox recently. I take it you're not going to be agreeing with Punch McNugget on this one.
Oh no, anybody that's sat through COVID, missing football so much, can never ask for the Celtic board to knock back tickets. I mean, the Derby match, there's a lot of reasons for that. It's maybe safety issues, but I'm still against it. But Hearts have got more season tickets. They don't want the big section of the stadium being took over by Celtic and Rangers. To me, that's a bit revolting, because when these clubs were struggling, we were filling their stands 3-4 times a season, as in Rangers. And they knew they're giving us about 595 or whatever it is. And you know something, it's a slap in the face, but it's still 595 fans that go week in, week out. They deserve to be there. The players deserve a presence. Even 600 fans will make more noise than 0 fans, Boise. Is it the equivalent to having 1,000 fans at the new camp? Probably. You know what I mean? But it's still 1,000 fans there. So I still believe that, bad mathematics, Boise, but I'm just saying, the players deserve a focal point when they score a goal. We all saw Kyogo's goal when at Ibrox. He was kind of half confused what happened, because it was no cheer, was he offside, you know what I mean? And the players need, I still believe the players need that support there, you know what I mean? And when you play for Celtic, you're used to that big, massive crowd, and there's always a presence where Celtic go. It could be Zimbabwe on a Tuesday night in a friendly match, and there'll be a Celtic contingent there. So Hearts have gave us a reduced allocation. We can't stop that, right? We've got to the stage now where it's got to take adults around the table to thrash this out before the season starts. And in Scottish football, there's not a lot of adults, boys. There's just folk just trying to slit each other's throats. And I'm not against Hearts being sold out week in, week out. If you can back that up and sell it out every week, then fine, reduce your allocation. But seeing you get maybe half a stand empty, like you get at Easter Road, you get at Tynecastle, you get at Fir Park, all these places, and they're locking fans out. Don't come greeting to us when you're telling us that you can't afford to buy the same players as us because the finances are different. When you're knocking back money left, right, and centre just to spite Celtic and Rangers fans. 600 fans, I would rather it was 6,000. But do you know what? When Celtic score a goal, by Christ, you'll hear the fans cheer. Trust me.
I wonder, Connor, if Mark's point on the actual number, I think is spot on with the amount of people going. I wonder if Plunge is maybe going down a line though of let's try and get it back to our usual status quo, and if we pander to these sort of changes that seem to have occurred recently with the reduced terms, that's going to encourage the longevity of that. Whereas maybe Plunge is thinking, tell them to ram it up their arse, hit them where it hurts, and maybe it'll snap them into life into going getting it back to how it used to look, which, if my memory serves me right, was kind of like half the stand behind the goal. I don't know.
I think it was the full stand. Was it the Rosebud stand?
Was it the full stand?
It used to be the full stand at one point.
I don't know. What
years ago.
Years ago. But I wonder, I think Plunge has just said exactly, boys. I wondered because I like Mark's point on I kind of tend to agree with him. I go, look, I would rather know I've got, an army of supporters there. Do you know what I mean? Bus passengers, you could say. If it was us playing in a football match, you'd want some fans there, and I'm sure we would only get the lowest allocation possibly you could get anyway. So I think you would rather have that than none. So I get that point, but in equal measure, if we're going to get it back to that colourful sort of every away game that Celtic and Rangers are playing, and I know I've got to include Rangers in it because they do have equally sort of large numbers in Scottish away stadiums. You're wanting this again when we go back to this age-old argument that we've had in the bus so many times about how this looks as a production, how this looks to the outside eye that might be considering taking a fleeting interest in Scottish football, and they're wanting to see packed grounds. Now, if Hearts can sell out the full allocation, I'm not too against it. But if this becomes a status quo across all teams and all of them start going down this road, we are going to inevitably end up with a hell of a lot of empty seats, Connor. The product doesn't look great. It's not great on the eye. And before you know it, the dreadful TV money that we currently get with the only TV money offer we could have got gets worse and worse. And I can see that the argument in going, we need to do something to try and get out of this madness. Do you know what I mean? Where we've got packed stadiums every time and we carry on with what it used to be as opposed to reduced allocations being the sort of go-to phrase for a lot of the other clubs in the SPFL right now, even if it shoots you in the foot.
Aye, it's just petulant. At the end of the day, it's petulant for a lot of the clubs, and it's really pathetic. It really grinds my gears. When you're going into a game against any football team, could be Hibs, could be Motherwell, Hearts or Rangers, you're in for a fight. And if you are a fighter going into that, you want something in your corner rather than absolutely zero. And we're not really getting given that opportunity with certain things, or it's getting reduced. So, and playing bastards like scummy bastards like Hearts and Rangers, it is a fight. I mean, you know what you're going to be in for. So you want somebody there being able to cheer you on and help you in those situations. So I'll take what we can get right now. But the thing about something being done, I think it might have been young Regan put it in the chat a while ago. There's a story doing the rounds that the SFA is going to get the clubs to vote on a minimum allocation for away fans, so it can be similar to the European allocation. The thing that really sticks macro about it is there's, how many teams in the league was it? 11, 12? They need to get a majority vote. You have to have 99% of the teams vote in favour of it. That's not a majority. That's not mathematically possible. If it's 11 or 12, it would be 6 or over. 6 clubs or over vote in favour of it. That's the majority. You have to accept it and move on. All the other ones that vote no,
What is it? Is it not 10? Is it 10 they need?
10,
11
I
out of 12. But that was
Is it
done to
11
favour
out of
Celtic and Rangers. That was done to favour Celtic and Rangers, that vote. So
Yeah, that's true.
so
That's
we can't
true.
have both ways, Connor.
right.
I mean-
But then if you put it this way, if it's 11 out of 12, what's the 2 of that 12 that will vote no? Hearts and Rangers.
Yeah.
They'll vote no. So then
Well,
there's
it's
no point in doing it.
interesting though. What
There's no
about this,
point in doing
Connor, for a counter argument? I'll come straight back to you. I thought when I seen they need to have a minimum allocation, that was actually more, maybe you could call it paranoid, I don't know. But I was thinking along the lines of, are they doing that to ensure Rangers have fans at Celtic Park and Celtic don't go, well, we didn't take any of yours, we're just going to do a shutout. And this would actually ensure that they had a presence at the next derby, which will obviously be the New Year's kickoff, as it were.
Well, I seen a story that that's not happening. I seen articles saying that Celtic are saying no. They're saying, get to fuck, you're not getting any. They're saying you can't demand tickets off us when you vote.
Hence what I'm saying, that's what I mean. So the vote, with the vote,
right,
then,
okay.
the vote
Is
would
that
then counter
right?
that. I think you're right. I think that is what Celtic's plan is. So that's why I was going, I wonder if they're bringing this in to go, aha, we've called you a bluff and we've done this vote prior to the next derby. Where I think you're right. I think there is. I think there's many voices at Celtic boardroom level that are suggesting maybe just keep them blocked out, and we've set the tone by not taking any there. I think they were teeing it up for not allowing Rangers fans into Celtic Park. If this vote were to go in the favour of a reduced allocation as a bare minimum to every single game, that would counter that. Do you get what I mean?
I think they're forcing the issue, boys. I think they're trying to force it. Sorry, Connor, they're trying to force it so that at the end of season meetings, the SPFL, they'll be saying, right, we need to get this situation sorted. With 4 derby matches, there's been no fans, so this needs addressed rather than 500. And so this will need addressed. So it's big boy pants time. Bring everybody in and just say, look, it's 2% unless your stadium's over 50,000. Or I think it was something like that. If it's over 50,000, it becomes less percentage because it's more fans. But in that case, Celtic would get a couple of thousand, Rangers get a couple of thousand as well. But Celtic are probably, I think Celtic are forcing the issue by saying, look, 0 fans.
Totally agree.
So come the end of season meetings, they'll say, right, one thing we need to address in legislation now is, I think I did see 3% or something, unless your stadium's above 50,000. Or it was 5%. So, for instance, if you had a 50,000 seat stadium, 3% of that was at 1,500, roughly. But below that, if you've got like a 10,000 seat stadium, you've got to offer 5%. You know what I mean? And
yes.
So that's forcing that issue. So sometimes Celtic they think outside the box, but which is why I think they knock back the tickets then, and then their counter attack to that was to block Rangers fans, which means come the third
Someone's
game,
got to step in.
Rangers will say none to use either. Then we can say okay, none to use again. Then before you know it, it's came time. There's been 4 matches without one away fan. And when it comes to your TV deal, does depend on that fixture. That will come up in that conversation.
So let's go back to it then, Connor. Plunge McNugget. All right, boys. Celtic should tell Hearts to stick their tickets. It's what he said at the start. I mean, you actually listen to what Mark's just said there. This might be the plan that Big Plunge, he's in tandem with what Celtic are thinking right now. He's thinking, tell him to stick it, and that way we'll enforce change. If that means that the bodies come in and they say, well, look, we're going to need to come up with a minimum percentage here of attendance. If Mark's talking there, that could be in the 4-figure number, then that's a hell of a lot more impactful than 700 at each game. And I think deep down Celtic are pining to get it back to the 6,000-7,000 at each, right? I think that's what their end game is. But I tell you what, I think they would take as a happy medium right now, 2,000, 2,500, as opposed to the 700. And if that finds itself as being the end result we get for season 22-23's remaining derbies, I think they'll say job well done. Plunge is suggesting do it to Hearts as well. Force the narrative a bit. I can see where he's coming from a wee bit more and more the more this conversation's went, listening to him out there.
Aye, I mean, see, at the end of the day, if it does force change, I'd be all in favour of it. However, I'm in very much of 2 minds about it. Currently, right now, where my head's at, we're still in like a title race. There's still so much, longer of the season to go. I would rather have the small section of fans in there to go to a hostile environment like Tynecastle after an international break where we could possibly be a bit rusty. And then after that, after we've got points on the board, after it's a week or two in and we're back in the swing of things, then the conversation can come back around. However, if it does actually enforce change in the future, I'm all for it. But the fact that we've actually had to come to this scenario is insane to me. It's really bizarre. It's not so long ago we had St Mirren blocking Celtic fans for getting into a game, and they then charge their own supporters £30 a head to be in favour of it. They asked them to put it to a vote. The supporters said no, so the club are like, right, give the money to cover the tickets, which is fair enough. Which most of them should.
They had to pay more than what they normally would for their own home gate to make up the difference of the tickets they'd cost Celtic fans.
I mean,
right.
which is fair enough because it covers a huge bit of their finances, getting ticket revenue. So it's really weird. It brings your game down massively. It makes it look like a bunch of petulant children who spit our dummies at the pram at the slightest issue, and we can't get on with each other. Majority of times we can't anyway, because what Scottish football's like. But at the end of the day, we're supporters, and these guys are in charge of like multi-million-pound football clubs known all over the world, and they can't get their fucking out of man. And it's crazy. I don't understand it. We all say we'd love to be a fly in the wall inside the SFA, inside these boardrooms, Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, Hibs, just to see what is going on, to see the mindset of these people that are running our game. Because when you've got three guys who are sitting running about a computer on a Thursday night, drinking tinnies, can come up with better solutions and better, plans to go ahead for the game, to do this, then what the fuck are these Tories sitting on these boards, sitting in these, organisations who get paid thousands and thousands a year to make these decisions for the betterment of our game, but they couldn't organise a piss up in a brewery.
But the thing is, though, this is the thing, right? So, see the difference between a Celtic
let him have
board.
his moment, mate. Let
No,
him have his
he's
moment.
right.
He was
He's
on
spot on
fire
a
there.
bit. But see the Celtic board and Rangers board, they don't need to pander to the fans as much as what a St Mirren does, who's maybe got a 2,500 core fan base, right? And they've got to listen to their core fan base. They've got to listen to their core fan base. They've not got us with a 10,000 waiting list. They can pick and choose when the stadium's full or no. So see if they see a swell of opinion at these smaller clubs, they've got to act on it. And Connor's spot on. It was put to St Mirren fans, and they voted on it. In fact, the St Mirren, they were very clever. They gave the St Mirren fans the option to make that decision. It was made for them, so they managed to avoid the situation. Then asked them after the event to pay for it. Backfired a wee bit on them. The same with Hearts and Hibs, right? We all know Rangers fans and Hearts fans are kind of the two cheeks of the same arse, but they don't like us coming and taking over the stadium, right? So they don't.
We're always winning. Because we're always winning.
Because we're always winning, mate. Same as Rangers. But this is the thing. These boards that live month to month, year to year, in most cases, they need to listen to their small core fan base. Boys say we're both going to come out tomorrow and make a decision that alienates 85% of the stadium, and see next week they'll still sell it. That's the difference, mate. So it's Connor's spot on. They're run by total bampots. We've said that a million times. The SPFL, the SFA, and the people running our club, I think, are just confused about what actually fans want. And I don't know any industry that doesn't know what doesn't know what their demographic wants. If you're in a sector, your first job is to find out what your punters want and then provide it. Your sector is just about putting any product out in the park, stating daft rules, and hiking up prices for a worse product. And that is our game in a nutshell. But
that's clever.
Unfortunately, mate. Unlike pubs, clubs, restaurants, we're addicted to Celtic. We need it, and they know people will always pay their money, and that's why there will never be the sort of changes in tap of the SPL, SFA, or Celtic as long as we're still here, mate. Because we can't force issues, mate. Unfortunately, the board can force issues. We can't.
What about this? This is someone who's certainly not a Bampot, always coming up with good comments in the live chat. Stephen Ray comes in, and I like this, Connor. I don't know how we're talking about league reform and all this shit, right? But we find ourselves where we are on this bus. and we will talk about Celtic just after this topic is done. And he's saying the argument the clubs always had, the clubs was in the SPL, SPFL, delete where applicable, has had for a 10 to 12 team league was that they needed their 4 visits if they made the top 6. He's referring to from Old Firm fans per season. I think you get 2 visits, obviously. But I know what it means. You get to go to their ground and you make a big share of the gate receipts from their sellout at the Celtic Park, right? Or Ibrox, I suppose. But now most of the clubs don't need these visits. We could increase the league size, Connor. There's another argument for it, though, because see if you're going to prove to us, and that's what these clubs are essentially doing. Stephen's spot on. You're essentially saying the money that you receive from Celtic coming to town ain't all that, is it? Okay, perfect. Let's expand the league now then, and hopefully with this more of a varied sort of approach where there's different matches happening, not the same. And you know, when the league split happens, how often do you play? For example, Rangers 4 times in a league campaign, Hearts 4 times in a league campaign, Aberdeen 4 times in a league campaign. It's quite a repetitive thing for players to come into that environment, managers to get bowled off quite quickly. I think you look at this and you go, whoa. It's the clubs that are setting the template here, Connor. They're the ones telling us, actually, no longer the Glasgow clubs, Old Firm, whatever you want to call it. Suddenly their money's not so much king anymore in our revenues. How do we know this? Well, because you now don't need to give them the allocation. You've now got them all on reduced allocations. Well, with that in mind, that clearly opens the door. Clearly opens the door for league expansion. Stephen Ray, take a bow. Connor, I'll come to you, mate.
Yeah, I'm in favour for it. It changes things up, it makes things fairer, but I don't think that these clubs really have proven that they can do without our money. I really don't. I don't think they could survive without the Celtic or Rangers providing them with a revenue. I mean, fucking Hibs can't even sell out their own stadium. Do you know what I mean? There's so many teams that you could just click where applicable for the teams that can't fill their stadium and they're basically just getting by on their finances, you know what I mean? And yet they claim that they need all this support, they need all this help. I don't know how it would work or how it would happen. They would need to come into some sort of agreement. I think Irishman report was correct. I think Sky have the big swinging dick in the boardroom. They're telling the SPFL and the SFA what to do, for want of a better term, because they need the 4-match package to sell.
But that remains, well, Sky are the only show in town, Connor.
But
what if it became more varied? It might be a more attractive proposition to another media outlet.
Do you think the average English supporter, right, is going to tune into Dundee derby? Probably not.
I don't think the market, I think, has been proven in my experience of watching Scottish football, and for the various wee tidbits that I've had from working for BT and Sky. I can say that now. I worked for BT and Sky the last 6 years, right? And rest assured, I spoke with a guy at BT Sports, 1,000,000% of it's fail under. They're not targeting to get English viewers on board. You're wanting to maximise how many Scottish subscribers you're going to get. They accept your argument, Connor. The English numbers are a bogey. The English viewers aren't going to be tuning into the SPFL anytime. Right. So how do we sex up the product where we get more Scottish subscribers? The issue you've got is, right now, I mean, there's a Stephen Ray. I'm not trying to be biased here, but he's right. The last 4 Hearts and Hibs games, we used to be dependent on things that they've not even been on Sky. I think that
last one was a cracker.
Right now, if you think about it, we're counter-arguing our own points, because if we think it hinges on the 4 Glasgow derbies and they are basically the be-all, end-all and us getting a decent TV deal, then how come the TV deal's still so shit? Why couldn't something else maybe be better? That's what I think people aren't looking at. And I do believe when it becomes, if you're a neutral Scottish football fan, if you're, I don't know, I'm trying to think of someone who's on the fence. Jim Spence, right? Is he one, even him, who might take a fleeting interest in the first Glasgow derby? He might be by the 4th time around that season when the league's already in Celtic's trophy cabinet, be going, I'm not going to bother tuning in anyway. cares? Right? I think there is a turn-off when these games become overly repetitive, Mark. And right now, we've all said on this bus, the TV deal ain't good enough. So if the TV deal ain't good enough, then part of that problem is the repetitive nature of the fixtures. Maybe letting the 4 derbies rule your head on every other decision you make is something, when you do step away from it, would give us a more vibrant, a more refreshing product. I don't know, mate. Maybe I'm just overambitious.
No, well, that's the thing. This is where Sky are very clever. See, by no making the Scottish football package look really appealing to the wider public, it kind of reduces its worth, which means the 4 games they are trying to sell to the bigger audience is the derby matches. We all know that, right? They're trying to sell the Glasgow derbies to. But by no jazzing up Scottish football in whole, we've seen the way they publicise it. They're actually reducing its worth. But when they're only show in town, they can kind of dictate how much it's worth. So it's very clever. So that's a good point. Stephen raised point. I never even thought of that. That's an excellent point. And
I agree.
And do you know something? This is the thing. I wish somebody had maybe mentioned that on some sort of media channel, because that deserves some airtime. See that there? Because the story we have been told that the chairman and board of the directors don't want to lose that extra revenue for Celtic and Rangers, and yet they're knocking back the money, which tells us that they're in a happy place now when it comes to finances, and they'd rather be with us. Fair dues. Bring Dunfermline up. Bring the other big teams up. Bring them up.
Still in Albion.
Falkirk. Still. There's teams like Dunfermline, Falkirk. I think
I want Hamilton back in the league.
Anybody remember Dunfermline in the SPL? They were bringing in sometimes 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. That's bigger crowds than Motherwell were getting. They
got in League One last season, Matt. They did over 10,000 twice for the derby against Falkirk.
Definitely, and the Falkirk Dunfermline derbies are
big,
mental, by the way.
It'd be brilliant. Imagine that in the telly.
Oh,
it'd be brilliant.
I'm not saying bring them up just for the sake of it. They've got to some meritocracy,
sure.
But I'm just saying that's the level of clubs we have got outside who are just missing the playoffs and all the rest of it. The Partick Thistle.
United.
Dundee United, a massive club. I mean, as big as anybody in the league outside the top 3 or 4. And this is the thing: if they're saying that, because you can still have your 4 matches, the top 8 instead of a top 6 and bottom 6, you could have a top 8 and bottom 8. That way, your top 8 still getting, you're still getting your 4 derbies, you're still getting your 4 Hibs and Hearts derbies, and then the bottom 8 play their extra 4 games. And that way,
it would always be like a playoff thing. I agree,
and it's great. And you know, sort of, it would probably, because what we've seen in the top 6 is you go to top 2, which is normally decided by fucking game 30, but then there's 3 and 4 for the European places. But see, when 7, 8, 6 and 5 are trying to fight for that extra place for more money, that becomes a wee bit of a battle, you know what I mean? Unless there's maybe 2 or 3 away from it. So it creates more exciting games.
Far more capture an audience, isn't it? It just is.
And the thing is, that's the thing is, when Celtic and Rangers, and we start our season normally before the English teams do, see, rather than Sky going full pelt for Scottish football for 2 weeks, publicising it, getting Sky Sports News for our Scotland players getting interviewed, just constantly hyping up and building up that extra fan base if possible. They don't do it because they're happy with their investment. They're happy that they get 80,000 watching Dundee and Hibs. They're happy with that, right? But because it reduces what it's worth. If you put that,
so true.
And
they'll always make the same money on their derbies between Celtic and Rangers. They'll always make that. So that pays for itself. And then the rest of it actually keeps dumbing down the price. Very good. We're going to move on because that's halfway through. We're going to talk Celtic, and there's not been that many points coming in about the Celtic team. So I'm going to come to you, Conor, with one of my own, which I kind of pitched in at the WhatsApp group chat. And I think it's an interesting one. Rocky's fully fit now, right? Rocky fully fit. Cameron Carter-Vickers came back earlier than we expected. He's been out with the USA national team as well. So that tells you he's in a good place fitness-wise. Otherwise, there's no danger he's allowed to go on that excursion. So with that in mind, that takes us up to 5 now. No, we didn't think it would be 5. But thanks to the Liam Scales effect, I know you're still petitioning for him to get the new deal, the next announcement, Connor. But with the 5 in mind, what I would like you to do, lads, is rank me the 5 centre-backs, and I want Nat Phillips included in the conversation, and then I want you to explain why he is where he is, and obviously taking into account ability, and then obviously the nature of his loan, things like this. But go for it, Connor. Tell me what the pairing should be, and then what the order sort of is in terms of replacements for the centre-back positions at Celtic. With it in mind, we just played 2 centre-backs at this point, because I know loads will come in saying 3-5-2. Just based on the formation we've seen so far, is how we'll play it.
It's an obvious answer for me. Scales and Carter Vickers, I think. Scales so far has been a bit of a revelation this season. I've been banging my Scales drum since he's kind of came out the team since that game at Ibrox. You know, if you're so out of favour, right, that everybody has a collective like gasp at the fact that your name pops up on a team sheet for Celtic players at Ibrox, and you then go and have a married match performance, you're a good fucking player. You're a fucking good player. I don't care that he came from the League of Ireland, that that he went to Aberdeen, he was a bit hot and cold. He's a fucking good player. He's shown it in the big games. He's shown it in Europe as well, despite the fact that our performances have been a bit, not that great. It could have been a lot better. As much as the league, like Mark saying's a meritocracy, so is Celtic. I'm of the mindset that you could be bought for £25 million. You could be the record-breaking signing in this league's history. See if you're not either defending or putting the ball in the back of your net, you're not doing what you're meant to be doing. It doesn't matter how much we paid for you. You're not getting in that fucking team. No one is bigger than the jersey. No one's bigger than the club just because of how much we paid for you. You're there on merit. And if there's boys there who maybe came from more unfashionable leagues who didn't have the sexy, foreign names, and you think you should be ahead of them, well then fuck you, because these lads are trying. Scales is trying like a fucking lion in that Celtic team.
I would try like a lion to play for Celtic though as well. To be fair,
I know that, but he's been proving his quality, I think, as well. Do you know what I mean? So he's been backing up as well. He's been very commanding. He's been commanding in the air. He's been very comfortable. I mean, he's not looked out of his depth in the Champions League. So I think he starts along with Carter Vickers, because Carter Vickers obviously is the best defender this league has seen since Virgil van Dijk, and nobody can argue with that.
That's fair. I think that's totally fair.
So now, following on, my order for me is Carter Vickers first, obviously, because he's the fucking fridge. Nobody's going to move him. Scales for me, because he's proven it so far. I've seen more from him. Nawrocki, I've liked the look of him from what I've seen of him, but I've seen so little of him that I don't know how to feel about him yet, in all honesty. There's Nat Phillips, because from what I've seen of him, although very, very little, he's looked pretty comfortable. He's looked all right. He's obviously just been a little bit rusty, not getting a lot of game time. Fifth is Lagerbielke. Lagerbielke looks fucking shite. Like, he looks honking. And I'm sorry to say that. I know he scored the goal for Sweden the other night. Fair enough, whatever. But he looks so nervous. He looks like a deer in headlights. As soon as anybody comes near him, there's an attack coming. He looks very, very nervous. I don't think he knows what to do. His positioning isn't great. He doesn't check over his shoulder for what's coming behind him. He takes too long on the ball. And I'm like, he needs to calm down. He needs to develop a bit more. And I know he basically came in, as a bit of a project anyway, and was obviously flung at the team due to the defensive, injury fiasco we had going on. So it's maybe not the laddie's fault, but when you're given that opportunity, you should grab it with both hands, and he didn't. He didn't take it. So I would put him at fifth. I think what he needs is if we've got these, if everybody's fit and firing, Scales, Nawrocki, I think can switch out. Nat Phillips, I don't know if we would extend his loan or not. I'm not sure. I would maybe extend it for another 6 months if that's an option, just a loan, just in case, worst comes to worst, we get another injury crisis in the defence. And Lagerbielke, I'd loan him out in January. I'd say go to Aberdeen or Hibs or somewhere like that. Go to another club in this league and you can really learn the game, son, because he's no up to snuff in my opinion.
Not up to snuff. Okay. In terms of loaning out to within our league, we don't see it often, albeit I'm not against that idea. I don't mind the thought of younger players that have came in, maybe struggling to adapt in Scotland. Well, maybe a good way would be to be a regular starter, like Christopher Ayer found at Kilmarnock, and undoubtedly that really helped. A foreign import like him coming at the country at a young age, play though regularly at the top level, and I think that made it far more seamless. By the time he got to first team sort of age, 20 years old, I'm not saying he was the greatest player in the world. In fact, he did my head in. However, he definitely was a far better proposition to be in the Celtic 11 for that spell at Kilmarnock than without it. It's an interesting one. Judge, I'll come to you.
Carter Vickers obviously is, so it's a 5, but I would probably say that I want to see a bit more Nuroki. I think he has been voted to be number 1. But I wouldn't be against Phillips. I wouldn't be against Scales being given the shirt until he's proven otherwise, because he's making mistakes. But do you know what? He's in a big club and he's going to make mistakes. So if we can afford Kyogo to miss open goals, we can afford a defender who's not quite at it to get up to speed. So for me, I would give Scales number 1, shirt just now until Nuroki proves too good not to be number 1. So I'd have it Scales, Nuroki. Phillips, ideal world, I'd send him back now unless we need him, because if he's not going to contribute to the team, I'd rather we gave our own players game time to develop rather than somebody who's going to go back in January anyway. But in terms of ability, I would say Scales or Nuroki, 1, 2. Phillips. Then I would go to Stephen Welsh. I would go to the granny out of Mrs. Brown's boys. Then I would go to Kobayashi. And then I would go to Lagerbielke. No, in fact, I don't know. I couldn't pick Kobayashi and Lagerbielke because Kobayashi is possibly one of the worst centre-backs the country's ever seen. But Lagerbielke's had more game time and looked just as bad with more game time in it. So I don't know, I think they two deserve to fight it out, but possibly I would maybe send them to another country to fight so they don't need to be a select stretch while they're doing it. But for me, the only issue for Celtic just now is just take away, for Stephen Welsh, don't know why they can kind of push that aside. Our fight now in terms of your centre-back pairing is what's the best pairing? We've not got that panic anymore. Is it going to be a very good Scales or a very good Nuroki or a backup Phillips with an outstanding Carter Vickers? And that just shows you what 2 months
massively, mate,
can do to a squad. You know what I mean? And I was half joking there about the woman for Mrs. Brown's boys. I think she is probably a better defender, but I think the bottom two that I mentioned there, Kobayashi and Lagerbielke, boys, they are so far away from what being a Celtic player is that I think I would be more surprised than what I'm more with Scales being good than what I would be if Lagerbielke turned into a player next season. And if somebody can get Kobayashi into a player, by God, fucking give the guy a knighthood, because that guy has looked. I said it before, guys like Doué and guys like Raphael Scheidt, they are hard done to by history in Scottish football. The amount of game time the guys were given was very minimal. In Doué's case, it was like 2 matches. Like Raphael Scheidt, maybe 10 matches, maybe.
Like Doué, did he play 2?
Sorry?
I think 2 matches. I'm sure he just played Clyde.
No, the story is he played 1.
Is that the legend?
But he didn't. He played 2. There was another game he played, but the story is he played 2 games in 1 day. His first game and his last game. As my brother says.
There's a bit of a myth going there, eh?
I think a bit of a myth. But I think the guys like Doué and Raphael Scheidt, as much as they're laughing figures in Scottish football, I think they can feel hard done to. But the guys like Diego Laxalt, like Shane Duffy, who came to the country and played the way he did.
Yep.
Like many other dumplings, utter fucking dumplings that's played for Celtic in the last 10 years. I think they can feel hard done to, because I think I'd be more happy with a Raphael Scheidt, than a fucking Diego Laxalt. I'll tell you that for nothing, you know what I mean? Or a I know for a bad comparison there, but you know what I mean? I just
So
think
Lagerbielke, lads, we've agreed is bottom of the pile and CCV's top. Is that fair? Is that the common ground?
Aye.
By that.
I'll give you my tuppence worth and what I think in the middle. It's interesting because obviously I'm just trying to tie it back to conversations we've all had on the bus. Right, I definitely said I felt the centre back position was the strongest area we invested in the summer. I stand by that, but I wonder if there's an interesting subplot that could go on here. If, as we've speculated on the channel, that Brendan's not been behind all that many of the signings, one thing is for sure out the five. Nat Phillips is pretty much a stick on to have been a Brendan production, I think, in my opinion. Now, I know he's on the short-term deal, but what happens when you come to Celtic changes, I think, everyone's sort of mindset. I think you look at Craig Bellamy, for example. You hear him talk about he came up for Newcastle, playing with Shearer and all that, and he was like, I want to stay here. I think these things, that this club does have a mad pull on you once you get involved. You just wonder if Brendan could go, well, I'm not forced to play the guys. I've said I'd work with them. I said I would work and develop any player that Celtic go out and go and get. And you just get the curious case in that Phillips, whereas Brendan might ruthlessly look at it and go, they're my two centre-backs. They're the two most experienced. That's what I'm going with, whilst I've got them. And by January, Nat Phillips has played another 3 games in the Champions League, 4 games, if he could stay fit, which I know is debatable. And then he plays all the league games in between where he's fit. And Brendan might have that notion to go, do you fancy it a wee bit longer? And before you know it, you've got a real conundrum here where it just gets a wee bit more interesting. Now, again, speculating, but I just think the window was so blatantly full and admitted by the manager that defenders were brought in. Not defenders, players were brought in at the football club by the football club, not by him. And his job was to improve them. Then the curveball of Nat Phillips arose because of necessity. But whilst it arose, in my opinion anyway, I don't see Celtic both having the foresight, having the sort of contacts to go, we'll just get the boy who played 26 games for Liverpool 2 years ago or whatever it was in the COVID season when I think they won the league when he played over 20 games. Where's that one came from? That tells me a man who knows that club and has got wind of it. That looks to me like a Brendan production. What if he just goes, I'm just being fair. I want the two best. See whilst he's here, I'm going to play the best possible players I can for Celtic because I'm a Celtic fan and all that. And he goes to St. Roch's and he stands with a wee fella and they discuss tactics and they get it in their head. Do you know what? We're going to go with the two best players that he thinks are the two best defenders he thinks in terms of CV, not CCV, in terms of CV and experience. He may well go for those two. And if he does and leaves Nat Phillips a question then to answer come January, I would be in no doubt that it would be CCV and Nat Phillips would be the first choice centre backs.
I'm not facing that at all, mate.
You've not,
not one bit at all.
I get that so far.
So far,
there's a reason he's been brought in though, and it's not just because he's of the bottle, shall we say. I think he's a better player than that. I don't think you get to hang about and get new contracts for Liverpool. They don't. What was it Kenny Douglas said on the bus? They don't just give you carrots. That's not what they're going to be doing. This guy's got something about him. Mm-hmm. Brendan's obviously knows a bit about him as well. And I just wonder if I'm being a wee bit naughty with it, but if that's the only one Brendan's had the influence in signing, maybe that might be the one he chooses to go with. In terms of ability-wise, I think CCV's obviously at the top of the pops. Nat Phillips has got a stronger CV, shall we say, than Rocky. Rocky's got the transfer fee weighing on him, though. And with that $5 million fee, it's one that does put pressure on managers to use them when available. But the Liam Scales, talk about curveballs, has completely brought something else to the table where loyalty has to kick in at some point as well and go, you dug us out. And at no point when it was him and Lagerbielke was anyone wanting it to be, when CCV comes back, it to be CCV and Lagerbielke. Everyone was wanting Scales. Another thing Scales brings, lads, is that balance with the left foot. So with that a natural left-sided centre-back, and I think with that in mind, it's very difficult to try and get the list sort of comprehensively. We'll just have to speculate right now. But I definitely think that area of the team, we've done okay in strengthening over the summer, to be fair. I think that's been an area where Brendan comes in, he improves players that are there. We've seen that with Scales, and with getting competition for places, we've done pretty well there also. Now we get, though, to the small matter of Tynecastle itself and the fixture corner. Are you looking forward to it? Are you confident? I think the only two players missing is Abada and who's the other one?
Welsh.
Well, sorry. I didn't want to.
Both
Just
till
wait you to say it,
December.
Mark. Just wait you to say it, Mark.
What a miss.
With only Abada out, Connor, we are going into this pretty much full strength. Are you excited?
I love playing against Hearts. It's kind of like a mini derby, isn't it? So, you get to, have the build up for that. It's always exciting. And look, I know they're a bunch of fucking arsehole, scummy bastards, Hearts supporters and Hearts fans and Hearts team, but their stadium's a good ground to go to for an away away game. The way the stadium's set up, the crowd is right on top of the players, the refs, everything, the coaches. You look at it like it's like the distance for me to that wall there is the distance for the VAR monitor to the actual fans in the ground, which is mental to me how that's even possible. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good game. I think they're not looking in great shakes right now with the mastermind of Stephen Naismith at the wheel. So I think it'll be a good game. I think we'll be in for a good time. I don't think it'll be reminiscent at all of the first time we went to Tynecastle last season. Let's put it that way. With us basically near enough getting cheated out of 3 points that day, but we came through it. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a good game. I think that we could be in for a classic. I think we could be 3, 4, 5. Going into this game, I've got that feeling. In my plums that it could be going into it for one of these games. I really enjoy it. It's been so long. This international break has been like pulling teeth for me. And look, as much as I'm a buzzing Scotland to qualify for the Euros, even though we've been fucking beat our last 2 games, it's not the same. It's not the same as you having literal heart palpitations about every single tiny ball that goes astray. You're up at your seat cheering at every single ball that's passed forward, at every good piece of play, every shot that's fizzed out of the bar. There's something just about this club and about getting back into the league football that you can't match. And I've been missing it. I've been looking forward to it. So I'm raring to go for it, mate.
I'm raring to go for it as well, Matt. We've discussed this on the bus before. Tynecastle away is one of the best fixtures in the calendar by a mile. And I think it does add to it. I want to get it right round Stephen Naismith as well. I can't deny it. Now Mickey Beale's gone, I'm like, well, someone needs to take the mantle of the prick. And it's got 100% got to be him. Let's just have him this weekend. Now, whether it'll be a stroll in the park, 4-5s, I'm not as convinced. I think it could be a trickier game than that. But I definitely think in terms of the fixture itself, it's one that whets the appetite, definitely. And it's one where we'll get another gauge, I suppose you could say, as to where the Celtic side is, certainly domestically. And if Brendan really does have, his swagger back, and he's suddenly back into getting just into the old shoes that he was in before and just finding that wee bit of poise about himself again. I think there's no better place to sort of rubber stamp that than going, that's now Pittodrie down, Spaghetti Head down, because it's notoriously difficult, not because they're a great team, and then Tynecastle. If you can conquer all those in the opening round of fixtures, as well as Ibrox, I suppose they'll throw that in, I think then, that's a manager who's not just got his chops, this is one who's coming back and reminding you just how hellish it was the last time he was here. Bring it on.
Oh, definitely. It's probably a good fixture to come back to because it's self-motivating for the players. You don't really need any more motivation than that. I think the players who have been away in international duties have been away covering far distances, especially Kyogo, etc. a day's travelling, more or less, in time that you factor in the time difference. So there will be a lot of tired bodies out there, but Tynecastle, the atmosphere is amazing.
At least we've got loads of competition for Kyogo, though, mate.
Is that?
We've got loads of competition for Kyogo, though, at least.
Oh,
so you know he'll not start.
Oh God, fuck. Fucking hell, man. I would rather start my fucking Mrs. Brown. No, I'm really looking forward to Sunday, Saturday, Sunday.
Sunday, 2:15.
Oh, what a time! These dicks.
2:15.
Is it? What a
That's
bunch
2:15.
Fucking 2.
Oh, for God's sake. But I'm really looking forward to it because it's one of the first ones you do look for on the fixture calendar there today. Beating Rangers is a different level, but beating the Hearts is getting his own satisfaction. But Naismith, he's been a boy's been a tit since the day he signed for Rangers. You know what I mean? He's always been one of the guys. I never forget the time that he thought he was a hard man and he was crunching Scott Brown when the guy was lying on the deck. A match Celtic won comfortably anyway, so the last on Celtic. It normally is, to be honest with you. Let them have their wee victories. I'm looking forward to it because that 2 weeks of football, Scotland doesn't bother me. I actually thought if they qualified for the World Cup, he just told me it's the Euros. I thought it was the World Cup, so fuck, here we go. I had to listen to some
Champions Leagues, World Cups. They're not of interest to the judge.
My work put on fucking Clyde One this week, and he's changed the radio station in my work, and he's put on Clyde One, and I think it was Monday or Tuesday, whatever it was. And the full first tours was Scotland songs, and it was doing my fucking nut. And I said to the last of my work, I said, if this is what I've got to look forward to when they play that World Cup, I hope they get put out in the first fucking round because I'm not listening to this shit all the time or this kidding on my Scottish carry on or kidding on my support Scotland. No, I'm glad it's all finished with. I'm totally glad. But get Celtic back. I don't think Celtic are scoring 4 or 5 goals against anybody just now, Connor. I wish they were. I'll take a 1-0 now, especially with Tynecastle, reduced allocation of tickets, tired bodies for international football, and a VAR team that's set up to cheat us in every possible way. So I'll take a 1-0 Celtic every day of the week. I don't know who the Mankey mob's playing. I think it might be Hibs at home. I think it might be.
Play Hibs on Saturday.
We've been to Pittodrie, we've been to Ibrox, we've been to Fir Park, Spaghetyhead. We've got Hearts and Hibs coming up away from home. That is the toughest fixtures in the Celtic calendar. In the
opening round.
But do you know something?
I love it.
This is the thing. It's set up, in my opinion, to throw curveballs at Celtic. But there's a wee catch to that. When you come to the last 10 games of the season, when it gets truly tickly, Celtic have got Rangers at Celtic Park. They've got Hearts at Celtic Park, Hibs at Celtic Park, Aberdeen at Celtic Park. All the hard games at home. And then the Mankey mob's got to play all them away. So this is they can't have.
Yeah, there's a real
cake and have it. So they're going to have to.
There's a real element to that though that Mark's talking about, Connor. There's a real element that he's mentioning there in terms of when you actually list those fixtures to be done in the opening sort of round of 11, if you want to call it that. That means the next round of 11 is going to be, I would like to think anyway, a lot more comfortable for us. And a lot more jeopardy for them with a new manager. Apparently they've appointed one whilst the bus has been away. And in that time, if you start thinking about those fixtures, if he was to be facing them within his first sort of 15, 16 games, he's got 5 or 6 of those ties that Mark's just listed off there. That's extremely difficult to navigate when you're also still finding your feet. The beauty with Brendan coming back is, whilst there was a lot of naysaying, there was a lot of doubt over his whether he's still the same manager as before or whether he's still a rat, etc. And despite that backdrop, he's navigated everything pretty well so far, albeit the League Cup was a disappointment. Other than that, the big man's doing okay. I know there was that disappointment with the home match against St Johnstone, but in terms of the away fixtures, the way he's navigated them with, I know injury ravaged was a bit overused considering it was just centre-backs, but we've now got a plethora of centre-backs that we've just listed 1 to 5 earlier. They're all there as well. The options to Brendan are as full as they could be minus Abada. It's that simple. Abada wouldn't be a starter for many other fans as well, for whatever reason. That's a different debate. But I think when you look at it, if we could get max points in the next 2 games, that's massive. When you have to flip it and look at your nearest title rivals which is going to be Rangers. I know it might be St Mirren in the league table. I don't know if they're still second right now. I don't even know. But in terms of what Rangers are going to need to overcome, they've still got all of those fixtures to go, and they couldn't hang fire with us in the opening round of 11 so far when it was all the odds stacked against us. It bodes pretty well, obviously, albeit the next 6 points being massive also.
Aye, and I think that just kind of goes also in hand, like, just the gap in quality between Celtic and everybody else. Like, it's Celtic, Rangers, and then just doing in the fucking shit is everybody else, because they're not really a match for us. They can get the odd win here and there, or scrape a draw by defending for their fucking lives with 10 men plus a referee behind the ball, and, you know, they'll get away with it every now and then. But I think that the fact that we're navigating these fixtures is nothing but a good sign for the rest of the season to come. And, you know, I'm of the opinion that we're going to be like 20 odd points clear by the time that we play them next. I genuinely think they're going to be in the shit. They're just fucking so bad. I think it's going to be clear sailing by the time we beat them in the next derby. Because it just seeming that way, they just look so shite and disjointed now. But enough about them. It's more about us and what we do. Like,
I think the next 6 points. How many do you think we'll get? 6 at the next 6, Connor?
Put it this way: I'm more worried about playing Hibs than I'm playing Hearts, and that's not because Hibs are a better team than Hearts, because historically, you know, they never have been. But Hibs always seem to, the Easter Road seems to be that one of those grounds, like the Spaghetti ad, like up at Kilmarnock, up at Rugby Park, is one of the grounds that Brendan historically seemed to kind of struggle at.
Yep.
Or bear in mind,
Neil Lennon was in charge.
Aye, they were under the tutelage of old Larry, so, you know, he knows. I know people give him shit and that, but he was a good fucking manager, knows how to pick a team to make them difficult to beat. So I think I'm more worried about playing Hibs than I'm playing Hearts, in all honesty. But I do think we'll get the 6 points out of these two games. The next couple of games, and I think they will drop at least a couple of points in these next 2 games. They've not got the stones to go to play Hibs and then Hearts back to back and no drop points. Do you know what I mean? They've not got that in them. I fully believe that. You know, right down in my fucking scrotum. They've not got that in them. So I'm really happy that, you know, we're back. You know, the Celts, the leather belts, the felts, we're back. We're back with a bang. So we're going to be playing against the jam tarts, the watery farts. So I'm really happy. We're going to get the 6 points in the next 2 games. They're going to drop points. And by the way, the last time I predicted to drop points, they dropped points. So you can stick it all you want, lads. I know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So they lost to Aberdeen last time I predicted it. So they will drop points next 2 games. We'll extend the lead and we'll be free and clear.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be fair, I mean, if a lot of people thought that it would be a struggle for Brendan to adapt or readapt to Celtic, how difficult is it going to be coming in cold in the middle of October, 7 points behind, with the fan base being for blood? I do think it's tricky times for their new manager, Clement. I think it will be difficult. I'm not saying that he will drop points or he won't drop points. I've no idea. But what I do think, Mark, is undeniably he's starting from a space in the league where you don't want to be, full stop, let alone that being Celtic, giving Celtic a head start with a guy who knows how to win this league better than anyone else in the league by a country mile. It's going to be tricky for them. From a Celtic perspective, though, give me your thoughts on the next 2 games, the enormity of the 6 points, and whether you think we'll do it or not, and we'll give you the final word on tonight's show.
Thanks, mate. I think the next 2 are very crucial to Celtic. No, because I think they're going to be game changers. I think if we can navigate the 2 games, I think it just puts a right dent in Rangers' hopes this season, because the previous manager had Celtic at home, Aberdeen at home, Hibs and Hearts at home. Knowing Celtic had to play the matches away and still couldn't matches. So he's come into a situation where he's now going to have to pick the baton up and he's running uphill. And you know what? That's their problem. But if Celtic can get through these first group of fixtures and win all the away matches, which we all hope they will, I think these next 2 games are probably, I think sometimes you kind of break the season up into 2 and 3 game packages. You go, we'll get Rangers next, blah blah blah. Let's see these 2 or 3 games through, and then we'll see where we are. I think if they get through these next 2 games and win 6 points, I think Brendan Rodgers will kind of sit back and evaluate the first course of fixtures and say that apart from St Johnstone, it's probably been blemish free. The cup game is a different story, but they're crucial because Celtic is sometimes a club or a team that beats themselves more than anybody else can beat them. And see the thing I love about Celtic when they're playing bad, or they get a last minute winner, or they've got a tough game and they come through, is how dejected the other teams must feel. You know what I mean? And no matter what they do, no matter how much they try, no matter how much Rangers throw at it, like Ibrox with 50,000 fans, the referees backing them, and everything gone their way and still came out with 0 points. That is so disheartening. You look at the last few games there, Ibrox against Rangers, against Aberdeen. They went to that match thinking we were dropping points at one point, and while they were going to go a couple of points behind us, and an hour later they've got the manager sacked. That's how football can turn. We see Celtic get through these next 2 matches, 6 points in the bag. You will see the swagger a bit more at Celtic Park. I think the players are totally in tune with Brendan Rodgers anyway, but
Totally agree.
The charm offensive with Brendan Rodgers, I think, started at Livingston and then at St Roch's last week as well. And I think his actions after pitch is what buys curry with the Celtic fans, but he's a very clever man. He's noticed that these small things will change how he's perceived, but nothing will change the fans.
Of course he does.
Aye, and nothing will change the fans' views on him more than 6 points in the next 2 matches, boys. Champions League has been a bit of a disappointment, right? We all know that, but the remit just now is to take the opposition in the league and win this league, you know what I mean, then start again next year. And the guy's done a great job so far. He's beat off one Rangers manager already, so 6 more points, and this guy, Clement, he'll know the job in front of him, right? But when he looks at the fixture lists and sees who's coming up in the next couple of months, the stadiums he has to go to, he'll be fucking cursing his luck that he wasn't in there first, because the job he's been left behind by Michael Beale is nothing short of scandalous, you know what I mean? But Celtic will reap the reward, but not because Rangers are shite. That's one thing we've got to get clear. It always happens when Celtic win. The opposition always gets diminished after Celtic win. Celtic win because Celtic are good, not because other teams are bad. Win these next 2 matches and you'll see a lot of folk begin to panic at Ibrox, you know what I mean? And that includes the Undertaker and the new manager.
It absolutely does. I just wonder if come New Year, if Connor's predictions are right about 20 points, we could be singing another one bites the dust. Anyway, it's been great to be back on the bus. This has been the T.N.F. Everyone have a good night. We'll see you later. And as always, keep your eyes on this board.